Hi,
Hi, how are you?
Baruch Hashem. Here, remember what is this? One second. Okay, I have to ask you a favor.
Sure.
Um, Last week the recording didn't come out,
Oh, okay.
so can we start from the beginning of Dalit again, please?
Sure. No
Okay,
problem.
thanks.
I was just going over it again myself, so
Okay. Um, yeah. Okay, so Chav Dalit. The honor of Ma'amar Kodem, she made Derech Eretz in Torah. Made no Derech Eretz, no Torah. Mizeh Tzalon Shad Derech Eretz Utam, Uskam Mishul Torah. Derech Eretz was made, coordinated, and given its content for Torah. The kind of going to say about Odysseus. I want to explain more. Ushkol Torah, Simchi Chasom Motzah. The Torah sprouted and sprung from whom had their Eretz. I served my father all my life. Esav is 100 times more. Ani v'chule. But Esav, the Shosha Mishamish is Abi, Le Mishamish will be the Malchus. Right? You would presumably, Roshin Gamliel says that when he was Mishamish on Gamliel, he did whatever clothes he was wearing. But Esav put on big day Malchus. Amar Enkvar Shal Abba v'chule. It's not appropriate for me to serve my father, even though his father couldn't see. Right? At least not in the end. Nevertheless,
right.
he'd have to go to big
Mm.
day Malchus because that was his Esav's feeling. Um, Yinei kibbut avaim, he lo mitzvah Torah. It's entirely chara. Mani aleisa mitzvah zu. Midush like yeah adeh after shingamil. So kvar Torah ganke. Aleisa gets such much rate shingamil didn't get to. Yidushin. Lamed Alf, I'm Rabbi Yudel, I'm Shmuel, shows Rabbi Lozer, at Heichon Kibbut of, he said, I'm like Tzuvaru, Maas, Akko Mechel, B'kulei. The Benedicino wouldn't wake up his father. The key for the safe which had the avnei the stones for the ephod. B'kshemelech hachamim avnei ephod the ephod shishim ribo. V'asheram kol matmani b'maftech munach b'tachas shos aviv, and the key was under his father's head. Lola Itziro, he did not cause the anguish of waking him up. Became akum kibbut of the midah gdola kol kach sheinu musagenu. We don't have even has the capacity to grasp such kibbut of aim. She seed home rob because there's such a great loss. After the Makeli Yom say Terim, it was easy to find a Terim, lawyer of him, so to wake up his father from the sleep. She'll say for this, I read After Amor mitzvahs Torah gam bli Torah. So you got the mitzvahs of Torah, even without having Torah itself. Ben Noach Amar al Zerak ben Derech Eretz bli Torah. You got this conclusion without having the Torah. But uh, um, so kibbut Tori, he came to do a kibbut which is in Torah proportions, the Torah parameters. The often kibbut zehu kibbut Torah. This is a Torah dika kibbut. So Chazal learned mizan echon kibbut They wanted to learn from here. They extend the kibbut. So I mean, echon b'mes cholim mamon of the derech eretz of the Torah. How do you get from derech eretz to Torah? Zoya Chacha Bruli, so they Perish Mishnah made their Eretz in Torah. This proves what we said. I know Shemakor Torah whom be derech eretz. Source of Torah isn't derech eretz. Came BMS F Shalom Torah be derech eretz move on. And we name Abraham being the Torah Metzmo says Abraham being the Torah on his own. The meaning I don't know if it's Gdula social Abraham Abinu. The greatness of Abraham Abinu is manifested that the Shaman al Torah Torah Metzmo. He was able to perceive on his own. We have another principle we want to point out from this. That you see Avram being learn Torah or came to the understanding of Torah on his own. At some point, high up in the grand scheme of things, Derech Eretz and Torah are not separate like they seem to be down here. At some point, high up in the abstract, they are one and the same, or at least closely united, but it's one and the same. Um, just like derech eretz can be derived independently. So the pencil of Torah could be derived independently. From himself independently. The eretz the Torah. So there it's by him between the eretz and Torah. Sheparo Amar Moshe, Paro said to Moshe, Sheikbal Yisrael Yom Lucha. You should make a rest day for the Jews. So Ach Moshe B'Tikin Lemes Yom Shabbos and Luach. So Moshe went and made for them Shabbos. Okay, I'm not sure how great a proof this is, but I read a Gam Kohen Kabbalah Torah Shomus Shabbos Those Zerak Me'atzmo. I mean, we knew that there was Shabbos and special from the Sheish Mebrachus, so I'm not sure exactly we're proving from this, but in any event, evidently Moshe Rabbeinu, maybe at that point we're talking before Moshe came Moshe. Therefore, Moshe didn't know about Torah, but again, this part of Torah was seems to have been common knowledge. So I'm not sure. Anyway, but the point is that the idea of Shabbos can be perceived in Derech Eretz as well. That's what they say always nowadays, that to really understand Shabbos, you understand from the concept of very well if you reflect on a day which is bereft of internet, social media, blah 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 blah. So the question is whether they could have appreciated Shabbos before they had all these phenomena, which now we appreciate to be something we don't access on Shabbos. So I guess we have a greater appreciation of Shabbos ever before in history, as we can see it in the Derech Eretz today. Okay, some of those things.
I have a question.
What?
I have a question.
Yes.
When it says that Avram learned it Me'atzmo and Moshe learned it from Me'atzmo, does that mean that he learned it by himself? In other words, no one taught it to him and he just figured it out? What does it mean Me'atzmo, that he learned it from his inner self, from his inner being, that he looked inside of himself and he was able to understand? Do you understand my question?
Is yes.
Both are true. Okay. Yes. Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yes, he did it by himself, and he also, from within his own power of understanding himself, he understood.
And there was also an element clearly of Abba L'Tayr Messiah B'Yado. That's once we're on the derech, so Hashem brings them further. Okay.
Right.
So
okay, very good.
That which a person will reach the let's call it intellectual illumination. His bar so much will become clarified by what Hashem embedded in his intellect. The Sheba Chaimes in praise of truth, Ugnusa Chazav, and the denigration of falsehood, Bechor B'Tzedek, choosing justice, V'Surmei Avel, and staying away from wickedness. There are basic principles of Torah, but he said they're implanted in the intellect. The Shorish Torah B'Gilui Rakmi Derech Eretz. In other words, this aspect of justice versus falsehood, and truth versus falsehood, and justice versus injustice, it's where Derech Eretz and Torah, very obviously, I should say, meet together. The Shorish of the Torah B'Gilui he Rakmi Derech Eretz, Har Me'atzmo. Asher Mishum Zeh Im Ein Derech Eretz I'Afshar Sheyeh Torah. Without an independent sense of Derech Eretz, you can't have Torah. So in theory, if you are able to take Derech Eretz to its utmost, again, well, in one of the ways multiple, several, in the way, all the ways which you described before, so then you can reach the Torah. But also being intern Derech Eretz. Now remember, we said this. Last time we learned this, we said it's a very novel way of learning this, which is not the Pashup Shai. There's the main Torah Derech Eretz. Normally, the simple meaning of that, the way everybody understands, is that nationalities and religions that don't have Torah, they really don't have Derech Eretz. Pagan religions don't have Derech Eretz. Right? All the Derech Eretz is at best superficial. But he says not that way. He says, Derech Eretz if the Torah did not emerge from your derech eretz. Your derech eretz is not derech eretz. You mean Torah, then your derech eretz is not derech eretz. Your derech eretz, the word derech eretz, the bechresh, that's miach Torah. So Torah would have grown out of it. Main samach Torah derech eretz. The Torah did not grow from the derech eretz. But kol change gam derech eretz. It must not be derech eretz. The other man and his perfection are one. You shall freedom mishum open. Can't divide them any way, shape, or form. Well, there is a Mishnah. This we learn explain Mishnah. Ein yira, ein chachma. The garina shel chachma yira. The kernel of chachma is yira. Yira yamadargus arishonish ba'adam. The yira, in the sense of awe or fear, is one of the basic levels of a person. She me'akochas and a twin bow. By kashar kochas of a thieving. The sense of fear or awe is like any other natural power. There's some power in his body, achosmo umagdiro, which restrains him and limits him. Torah yirak mashkasan mamar. The lota say the negative commands are yira. Gather gvul, they are a fence and a boundary. Magdiro, which the fence him in umono and prevent them and then from violating that fence. But Yira seems to be emotion. The Chochma is an intellect, right? In Chochma, you can recognize how Yira is an essential fence. We come up with pre, like a fruit about the butter we shine. We look at it first. Butter we shine love. Doesn't look like the kernel has anything to do with the finished product. An apple doesn't look like the kernel. But somebody looks carefully, you'll be able to recognize in the fruit the kernel from which it developed, the godel and prize, and it grew. You might not see it because they seem very different, because the kernel and the seed and the finished product, the fruit, look very, very different. But the source, the code, so to speak, was in the kernel, and the code for Chochma is in Yira, which is a deep idea. Chochma is greater than Yira, although that's not so simple. Usually we say that Chochma is greater than Yira Sa'onish, but Yira Sa'omus is greater than Chochma. All right, let's go with him. So he says Chochma is greater than Yira because there's Beishis Chochma Yira Sashem. You need the best of the experts. To see in the resulting Chochma, the Yira, which is at its core. Yiras Hashem Chochma are one. So Rambam is God gives us this high and lofty secret. The love Shatzura, even the Chochma has taken off one form and put on a different form. It's completely different. The human eye cannot perceive its source in Yira. Nevertheless, it's got to be, you have to recognize it there. To get a Chochma hu hayira. Chochma is Yira. In other words, I would add that Yira is from Lashon B'riyah, perspective, or perception. So Chochma is all perception and perspective. So therefore, Yira, in the sense of B'riyah, is this Yesod of Chochma. Huva b'yalkut, v'yitain Elokim Chochma l'shlomo b'kuba gomer kol asher asfas hayom. He gave him wisdom like the sea on the seashore, like the sand on the seashore. Rabbi Levi Omar, Macho Geder Yam, just like the sand is a boundary for the sea. Chochma, so Gadol l'shlomo, so to Chochma was a boundary for Shlomo. Areish Geder Chochma v'yiro echad. Not sure we see it in this pasuk. Kamosha Gidro Shiyira Hu Mashi Gedura. It's like the boundary of Yira is the fence of Yira is whatever is fence. Even though it's completely changed and different, Gidro Mashihi Gedura. Its definition is that which it fences. So just like Yira fences a person in, Chochma has to fence a person in. It's like Yira is supposed to prevent you from going astray. Chochma should prevent you from going astray. Like there's a Chochma, Chochma is to know what not to do. Like Yira is to know what not to do. Yira also can tell you what to do. Chochma too, but I guess it's more, you say for the low tases, what not to do. Let's Lamar Shlomo Melech Levasham. I skipped. No. Let's Lamar Shlomo Melech Levasham. Shegagolish Chachamim. You want to say, we'll say that Shlomo Melech is the greatest of Chachamim. Kol Lamar Galop Hagolish Shmirim. Because say he's the greatest Yorei. The Kamish Kain Af Im. Do you have tough pay chaf hey?
Tough pay chaf hey. Yes.
I don't know what that is. Anyway, to use Roma Chochma, it's the Chochma will flow through a person. The Shetem Mayim Rabim, like a flow of powerful waters. Im Rak Lo Yeh Mugdar Ein Chochma. They're saying it's going even a step further. They're saying if you don't have the gather of Yiras Hashem, you don't have Chochma either. So you may Yira and Chochma, you may Chochma and Yira. Ukshiyesh Yira, Echrech Shetiyeh Gam Chochma. There should be yarn. You may there Echeret Saint Torah. This is the way it works. From the strengths which are embedded in a person. Miyira, so Chochma emerges. And then literally the sugya becomes clear. Things become clarified. As a result of his Chochma, Shenis Rapta, which has become enhanced. Tigdal Yirasa B'Yirasa, become the greater Yira. Shemasi Yossi Yirasa Hashem. Masi say Yirasa Chochma. It's a cycle. Yira Chochma, Yira Chochma. The Shumis Gas Yirasa. It goes back to more Yira. B'Chayza Chalila. Goes back over and over again in that spiral. Then Mitzoy Mishnah Mefureshes. Explicit Mishnah. Shiva Dvarim Begolim Shiva Chacham. Some things are in an imbecile. Some things in a wise person. Chacham Ein B'Dar B'Chulei. And speaking for somebody who's greater than him. Then Ibal Shiva is not too confused to respond. Mother Emes, he admits truth. Machilavin Golim is the opposite. Ikoma Shemana Ba'Mishka Areim Gedolim. They are parameters which are, I guess, restrictive in some ways, like Eno Medaber, Eno Nivhal. Muchazal Zeshem Hem Gidrei Chochma. Hayira V'Chochma Hein Echot. Shem Shar Fridan Zemize. Tam Shir Chochma Kol Echot Shem V'nei Atzmo. Even though Yira Chochma, ultimately they're two different names. The Hein Yira below Chochma, possible. Goes to Yisha Shevia, maybe a Chochma B'Chassid Yaibetz. Like we saw in the last mimer, the Chassid Yaibetz talked about the Megurashei Sfarad who kept their religion, right? The simple people, even though they had no Chochma. So here he says, okay, fine. You have Yira without Chochma, Chochma without Yira. Yes. But in the final analysis, they won. Ein Chochma and Yira, Ein Yira, Ein Chochma. So there is. I think it means there's no shlemus of Yira without Chochma, and no shlemus of Chochma without Yira. You can have some Yira without Chochma. It's not going to Yira, but they complement and uplift each other. Okay, I think we'll stop here. And Mir Hashem next week. I guess we'll learn on Wednesday again. Because
okay.
Okay. Yep. I wish you Ksiba Chasima Toiva. It should be a good year.
Yes. Amen. Amen. V'chein lamar.
Yes, we should continue learning. Thank you. Take care.
Yes, thank you very much for a good year of learning.
Yeah.
All right, take care.